Bartok was born in 1881 in Transylvania, and he died in September in 1945 in New York City. And HSL began the restoration of the Bartok cabin in Saranac Lake, where he spent the last summer of his life in 1995. Correct me if I'm wrong. I had to check. It always was like, when did that happen? And we've essentially finished the rehab of the cabin in 2001 with the help of many others, and you know who you are. Also with the help of annual summer concerts out at Cobble Spring Farm, and the help of our friends out there, and also the help of Peter Bartok, Bartok's son, who's in the Navy outfit here. So he helped a lot with the restoration of the cabin over the years. And last year, as you know, we received this amazing collection of Bartok's personal effects. And people have asked, we're very excited to put those Bartok things in the new museum. We're excited to have space to show them to the public. Some people have said, well, so many important famous people came to Saranac Lake. Why just focus on Bartok there? How about Stevenson and Einstein, and I don't know, you name it. There were lots of important people here. Well, one, we have this stuff. We're the only people in the country that have this stuff. There is no museum exhibit of Bartok stuff in the country. So it matters, and we're excited to show it to the public. The other thing is that we have the cabin, and that's an amazing historic site, and we're excited to make that connection. The other thing is that we have a generous donor who has made it possible for us to show the stuff. Thank you, generous donor on the computer, that we're able to make an exhibit space available. So all of that matters. But the other thing that really matters is that Bartok himself was a super important guy. He shows up on lists of top 10 composers in human history all the time, even sometimes top 5 composers in human history. So he's right up there with Mozart, Bach, and Beethoven. And many of us, if you're like me, you listen to Bartok's music and you don't necessarily understand why he's in the top 10 compared to anybody else. I mean, you have to be a musician to really get it, but he is, and he continues to be an incredibly important person in the history of music, and he was here, and we have his things. It's amazing. He also did so much work to preserve the history and the music of cultures of Eastern Europe. And in a time when he did that, and it really became a symbol of the resistance to fascism and a symbol of the importance of democracy and freedom. And at the time that we live in today, he really stands as a symbol of that today. His own country, Hungary, has a very strong movement afoot for fascism, which would make him so sad. And fascism destroyed a lot of those cultures that he was working so hard to preserve. So that story is such an important thing for our time. And I feel like we're very honored to have a chance to preserve the story of Bartok for those reasons too. Enough said. Let's look at his cool stuff. And before I hand this over to Chessie, I just want to say thank you again to all of our great volunteers and people who help with all the things historic Saranac Lake. There was a lot of work that came before us. Chris Brescia, there's like great old faces in the room, not so old faces, but original faces. And Emily and Mary, people, and Jan, who really have done so much to make this possible. And our events team, ladies who do so much for us, Ruth and Linda, thank you. So with that, you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Just this one.
My Halo project. I put my microphone on. Hi. Let me get my together. One moment. So I need to make sure everyone can see. Hello, everyone at home. We're just going to fire up the projector here, and then I will get going. Okay. Mahela, can you spotlight my video for this? Or does it show up on it as the top one? Okay, so we have sort of a funky setup here today, because I want everyone here to be able to see closely, just as everyone at home can. So this is a little like rubbing my head and patting my belly. So just forgive me if I'm doing this for a minute. First things first, I just want to say thank you all for being here. I'm a little bit anxious about doing public speaking again in front of people, so you'll have to forgive me a little, but we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna show some things. So as most of you know, I'm Chessie Monks-Kelly. I'm the archivist and curator here at Historic Saranac Lake. And my main role is to care for our objects in our archives. Our collection covers a wide variety of subjects over more than 125 years, so I could probably open any box and give a presentation like this. We've got several boxes to go through tonight. But specifically, of course, we're here to talk about the Bartok collection. So I want to give a little teachable moment here real quick. Every chance I get, I like to share information about how to safely handle collections. It's a big question we get. The number one question we get when we talk about handling collections is about these. Everybody seen these before? White cotton gloves. I'm here to tell you we hardly wear them. Yes, pause for dramatic yes. There are particular circumstances where we wear these gloves, primarily when handling photographs and negatives and certain types of material like metal. But wearing gloves is often more damaging to paper-based material than having clean hands. Partly because you have reduced dexterity with a pair of gloves between you and material, and also because they have a tendency to snag on stuff. So if you're looking through a piece of fragile paper, for example, you can flake crumbs off without knowing it. So these days, though, we mostly wear nitrile or latex gloves, so we look a little scary, maybe. They don't feel as serious as the white cotton gloves as the archivists on TV, I know, but they are much easier in terms of our sense of touch and grip, and I don't have to wash them. So I just wanted to get out ahead of that question before we get started. So tonight, you're going to be some of the first people, besides us staff, I guess, to see this Bartok material here. If you have questions or want to look at stuff more closely, happy to do that afterward. And so just hang on to those thoughts. So let's dive right in. So first up, we have, oh, yep, here we go. A photograph and a manuscript fragment that were framed together when they came to us. And I'll hold this up to the screen in just a sec so you can see more detail. But most of the time, we keep things in frames if they're in pretty good condition. But in this case, because this is a manuscript, it's unique, irreplaceable, handwritten. We don't know the quality of the materials in the frame, so we unframe, take things out to preserve them, and also to let us scan and look at them more closely. Boy, howdy. Hey, there we go. So we did scan this. It will be up online if anyone wants to try your hand at playing it. I'm not a musician. I also don't speak Hungarian. No, it says 1922, February 26th. It is signed Béla Bartók. Actually, it says Bartók Béla, but we have not yet gotten a Hungarian speaker to translate these for us, but we will. So I think one of the most, I feel like a lame magician here, going behind the screen. One of the most striking things about this collection, I think, is the humanity of it. You know, a lot of these things are just sort of everyday items. Everything from cufflinks. I'm going to take my gloves off. Here's a place where gloves hinder your dexterity, but then you look real cool taking them off. So cufflinks Moving the screen, okay, and a matching tie clip. A nail file collection in a case. A shaving brush. A pen. You know, a pen, of course, has more weight when you imagine a great composer using it. But these are all things that, you know, we use in our everyday lives. Maybe most of us probably don't wear cufflinks that often. But, you know, they help root us to Bartok as a person. You know, he's a great composer, an honored figure, but he was also a man, a husband, a father, a brother. And so these things all are very, I think. So we also, pardon me as I repack my show and tell. So all of these materials came to us in a kind of scary cardboard box. I get a lot of those. And we unpacked them and we put them in archivally appropriate storage so that they last, so that the next generation and the next generation can see them. But stuff doesn't come to us like this. Yeah, I'll get to that. So, you know, this is all work that happens after we receive materials. So some of the things tell us a bit about the time period in which they were used. For example, a box full of removable collars. These, let's see, what are the other thing I have here? You know, removable collars are no longer fashionable or necessary, but they tell us, you know, about when we're the time period in which they were fashionable, the style, things like that. Also, most of us probably don't have a box full of white bow ties. They all have tags, that's the word, in Hungarian or other Eastern European languages. So they were purchased before coming to the States. I lost my notes. I need more table. So, you know, these were presumably used for performances, you know, to go with the tuxedo. But again, I do not have a box full of white bow ties at home. I can't speak for everyone here. But these came to us, again, in their original boxes. So all of the collars were tucked in this fairly unassuming, fairly delicate red box. Ooh, hold on. And so we want to make sure that we preserve the connection between things like this red box and the collars. But who knows what the dye in the red box is made from? Who knows what the cardboard content is? And so we separate materials to keep them safe, but we make in the context. So, boy. Some of these items show their age significantly. Oh, I forgot the photo. I'm so sorry. You'll have to believe me. We have a photograph of Béla Bartók wearing these glasses, and I'll hold them up to the camera in a second. But they probably were made of Bakelite or another early plastic, and they have become very fragile. They also saw some stuff on the way here, I think. So they are in many, many pieces, unfortunately. And you can, you know, come look at these later. But in a way, this helps tell a story, you know, on its own, even though they're damaged. You know, they were used. They were used as part of his life. And I just want to point out, as museum professionals, sometimes we get some fun toys. And this box is one of those. I've been waiting forever to use one of these. It has 2 layers of polyester film inside that hold all of the fragile pieces snugly. But you can turn it over and see both sides. Yep. So they're safe and secure to look at without risking further damage or loss of little pieces. So let's see. What shall I pull out of my bag of tricks next? Oh, it's all right. Don't need it. I already said it. So some of these pieces are a bit of a mystery to us thus far and require further research. I need a Vanna White. So this collection of glassware, and I will hold it up for the folks at home, etc. in a second. Pieces, a decanter, and a matching cup. Hold on. So it has a crest on it that, let me find a better backdrop. That's not better. That may be linked to the family. Great, thank you. Thank you, Peanuts. So it may be linked to the family. It may be to an organization. We just don't know. We've started to do a little research on it, but I don't pretend to be an expert in crests or family seals. So if anyone is, please let me know. And I would love to hear more what you think about it. And again, these items will be photographed, cataloged, and made available online. So if you want to, spend the cold winter doing a little detective research on Hungarian family crests, I would love it. All right. So once these pieces show Bela Bartok in many different lights. He kept this scrapbook while he was here in the United States. And in the beginning, he primarily, you can see it says Bela Bartok personal clippings, 1941, question mark, to 1945. So in the beginning, he primarily used it to track news about the war. New York Times from August 27th, 1944, here with the map of the movement of the war. We have at least one clipping about a soldier from Saranac Lake serving overseas. So we know he was adding to it while he was here. This is a perfect example of why we don't use gloves for paper-based material. Do you see how fragile this newspaper is? This is very easy to lose track of how it feels and or snag your hands on it. So this clipping here in the on the bottom is from the Adirondack Daily Enterprise. And it is about Donald E. Moody of Saranac Lake. And he has been promoted to the rank of an electrician's mate, second class in the Navy. And it says that he is the grandson of James E.R. Moody of 3 State Street. So, but then eventually he started to change his focus to American life in general. Yep, so we've got some Saturday Evening Post covers, some bikinis, some political cartoons, and comics. And you know, I can't speak for Bela Bartok personally, who among us? But I do think that this maybe reflects, you know, his interest in what it was like to be in America period, you know, American society and what we thought was funny and in print. So this is definitely a piece that, merits some further study. I will say most of these cartoons go completely over a modern sense of humor, so to speak. I look at them and I'm like, I guess that was probably funny in 1941. So, we definitely want to explore this further. So now I want to tell a story that some of you might have heard about. So say I'm going to give a performance or attend a performance. You might put on your shoes, although they might be a little nicer than these. And I will point out these shoes came with newspaper from the 1940s stuffed in them. We have separated it just for, secure or preservation purposes, but we do have it. Side note, I think these shoes are very interesting because he wore them. He dragged his heels like a lot of us. They're obviously well worn. So anyway, you might get your shoes and you'd probably get dramatic reveal. I need the stuff to be a little smaller. So you'd get your tuxedo shirt. And this is where your removable collars come in, of course. So you've got your collars, you've got your white bow tie, and you might finish the look by hitting your head on the iPad. You might finish the look with a white vest for a fancy evening out. There you are. So when we got this collection, as I said, things were in a box and we really didn't know what we were getting. We had some ideas, we had heard a little bit, but we didn't really have an inventory, a perfect list that we were looking for. And so every time we opened something, it was a new adventure. And so as I took this vest to put it in its happy acid-free house, a little piece of paper fell out of the pocket. And I just assumed that it was a dry cleaning ticket, a coat check, stub. All right, let's see if I can do this. Instead, it was a ticket for December 2nd, 1944, concert at Boston Symphony Hall. Boy, this is hard. And not just any concert ticket. We did a little research after this fell out of the pocket. And it turns out that this was the premiere of Bartok's Concerto for Orchestra, the world premiere. And they played over 2 nights at Boston Symphony Hall. Bartok composed the Concerto for Orchestra in Saranac Lake. And he died about 9 months after this performance. And so we've all been there. I think someone hands us the ticket stub back and we shove it in our pocket. And that's basically exactly what he did in 1944. And it's been in that vest pocket ever since. And so, this tiny stub of paper could tell so many stories, and it easily could have been overlooked if I hadn't flipped the vest over. I mean, I might have looked in the pocket eventually. It was there and it didn't get lost over all these years between storage and moving and getting sent to us. And so it held on for dear life in that little pocket. So, there are lots more objects to explore in this collection. I brought out sort of the heavy hitters. There are more photographs and another pair of shoes and things like that. But we wanted you to get a real feel for the type of materials that are here. And we only have so much time this evening also. So I'm in the process, as I mentioned, of cataloging all of these materials from the ticket stub to the scrapbook. And we will try to, as we are able, provide digital representations of those as well. But of course, you are always welcome to come in and use them in person. These are everyone's collections. We are the stewards of them. But as I wrap up, I just want to acknowledge that none of this would be here or be possible without Bartok's youngest son, Peter Bartok. He held on to these items, for his whole life, and decided that upon his death, they would come to Historic Saranac Lake for safekeeping. We are honored to safekeep them and make them available to researchers, musicians, visitors, all of you going forward. So if anyone has any questions about them, we can do that now. Also, or about the collections in general, I will put a few of these items out in a little flat case once I'm done rubbing my head and patting my belly. So you can come up and take a closer look. And like I said, make an appointment with me if you want to come see them in person. You are more than welcome to do that. So any questions here or online? Or
Chessie, I thought it might be good to mention the cost, that there is a cost, obviously, of all these special collections.
yes.
Ways to store them, and to thank the donor who gave the funds to support the exhibit, that also included those storage.
Yes, so that is a great point and one that I'm usually harping on, so I'm surprised I forgot. All of this collection storage materials are incredibly expensive. A box like this costs us about $30 a piece, just one box, and that doesn't even include this tissue paper. So donors have been very generous in supporting both the storage of the Bartok materials, also with the collections in general. But as we prepare to move to the new building, we are trying to make sure that things are housed appropriately so that we aren't moving things twice. Nothing gets broken on the way and things like that. This is really a big part of what your support is helping with right now as well. And we have a few grant projects that have helped pay for different things here and there, but it is an expensive proposition. And thank you to our Bartok donor. Any other questions?
I would just say also thank you to folks in the room who helped establish that relationship with Peter Bartok years and years ago. Did any of us meet him in person? I don't think we did. Emily, you wrote letters to him and talked with him though, and that personal relationship is what eventually got these things here. He died, I think, 2 years ago.
Yes, 2019. Anybody? Okay.
Bartok Records, which was Peter's business for his whole life, is now closed.
Yes. So
I think that the materials from that also came in.
correct. So yes, Bartok Records is no longer, and we are now, as far as I know, the sole sellers of the remaining catalog from that record company. So if you need any Bartok CDs, we have you covered. Any copies of My Father or the Viola Concerto, this is the place to get it. And you can also purchase those things online for those of you at home. And members of Historic Saranac Lake receive a 10% discount in our store. So, once those are gone, we have of them for the collection, so they will not be gone forever. But once that stock is sold, that's it, unfortunately.
Chessie, when you receive a collection like this, you lay it out and then you purchase the storage boxes.
Yeah.
To meet your needs.
Yep. So the question is, when we receive a donation to the collection, Do we lay it out and sort of survey it and then purchase supplies to suit the needs? It depends. Some things are pretty standard. Postcards, photographs, glass plate negatives even are pretty standard sizes. This is a special case. We definitely, took the time to go through an inventory and think about the storage needs. Certain things need different storage materials, different kinds of support. So we're not quite done with the housing for these. Eventually, all the clothing, for example, would get stuffed as though someone is wearing it to reduce the creases in the fabric over time, because those become permanent, and in some cases they are already, but that helps protect. We might do something like hang clothing, coats, things like that up on padded hangers to protect them long term. So it really depends on the collection. But we do also have cabinets and things that hold certain types of materials, and so those are pretty straightforward. But and some stuff needs really special handling, custom made molds to keep it from rolling around. The glassware, for example, we made using foam and acid-free tissue, like bolsters almost for them, so that they're supported at the neck of the bottle, and so they don't roll around in the box when you pick it up, because that's not good. So it depends. Yes, Andy.
So in addition to caring for the physical storage of the materials, you also have to do a fair amount of work to describe this stuff too, right?
Thank you for the softball. The question is, from our number one press ganged volunteer, my husband, for those of you that don't know that already. So the question is, when we receive materials, we don't just rehouse them, do we also catalog them? And does it take a lot of work? Yes, it does. Every object, say we have this vest, gets its own catalog record. There's some exceptions to that rule in terms of archival materials, but generally speaking, an object like this gets its own catalog record. It gets a unique identifier. As a group gets a number, and then each object gets its own number within the group. That helps us link back to it for digitization, for catalog records, for exhibiting them. Say we put this out on display and I go, oh no, where's the vest? Well, we can track that it's in the Bartok room. Cataloging them requires measuring, detailing the materials, describing the condition, giving them tags so that you can search for them online, because what good is it if we have Bartok's vest if you go to the online collections database and search Bartok and don't get a vest? So all of that goes into the cataloging, not to mention photographing objects so that you can see them online. Anyone else? Okay, so thank you all. And I really do encourage you to come use the collections. Just let me know ahead of time so I can pull stuff out for you. And like I said, I'll set some stuff up here if you want to come check it out at the end of the meeting.